I run KraneShares climate investment team, and that means we are curating a selection of products that allow investors exposure to the key themes of fighting climate change while taking advantage of some of the best capital opportunities that exist in the market. That involves three core pillars. The first of those three pillars is carbon. You need to be long carbon to be long both the changing government policy, tightening regulation, and that marriage of the public markets and private markets in coming together to solve climate change. The second key pillar is being exposed to the correct equities. That doesn't necessarily mean clean equities today, but we feel it's companies that are going to have the most change, and those companies might be some of the dirtiest companies today, but are going to have some of the most impact as they transition. And thirdly, you want to be long the core commodities and resources that will play into that story and make that change possible. So that's how we approach it. This doesn't necessarily rely on ESG data, which has been a big buzzword of Climate Week, and allows us to actually create great investment theses that also are pro-fighting climate change. So the carbon markets, and very specifically the compliance carbon markets, is investing in essentially tightening climate regulation. These are permits issued by governments to limit the amount of emissions. And as they limit the number of emissions, the price of emitting gets higher, and therefore not only forces companies to try and pollute less, but actually stimulates innovation to create lower carbon solutions and move us further away or closer towards our targets on reducing emissions. And so that's key. Now, how they work, they auction a set number of these and they curtail that over time. We are going through a tightening cycle in this market that will continue until the problem is solved. At the moment, we're in the energy crisis in Europe is really putting pressure on these systems, and we're seeing some weakness in this market. We think that means that though there's weakness today, this is a coiled spring that's building up momentum. We are going to have to solve the climate change problems, and so we see these markets as being very compelling, especially at these entry levels. And that really is why investors should be looking at carbon. And the last thing I'll mention about this is you're almost short carbon in your inherent portfolio because at least 25% of the world's carbon is covered by these programs, and that number is growing. So if you are long equities, and I'm sure you all are, you need to be long some carbon alongside that to ensure that you have got this complete picture covered. The Sustainable Investment Forum is a great event. All of Climate Week is a great event. The bad news is we've been doing Climate Week for over 10 years and we're still not having enough impact. We're still not making enough change. And this is becoming a theme of this Climate Week, that the hot air needs to finish and the action needs to start. Now, carbon markets that we've talked about, transition markets, and those natural resources, these things are really starting to play out. And the tightening of these markets towards the right solutions are really starting. We're in the nascent stages of that and the nascent stages of people investing in them. So we need to take action, but the key is that we keep that momentum. And I worry about the 1.5 target. I don't know that we can hit that, but we need to get angry about that and start doing something. And so that's the key for an event like this, is to not just talk about it and understand the problem, but get towards fixing the problem.